Hello guys, it's Lucas here, and what we're going to talk about today is the 1 Series thermal imaging camera. So you can see there I have this small tiny bullet camera. I also have a turret eyeball outside, so we're going to play with them today. But I'd like to show you some features of this camera. Like you see the size, it's really tiny. It's first thing you can see, there's a dual lens. So you have the visual lens, just an ordinary like a 4 megapixel camera, as well as you do have the thermal imaging camera that will cover the thermal imaging for you. But because that camera has a fusion, you can fuse both pictures together and display them overlay over the thermal imaging. I'll show you how to do it and how does it look like. Like I said, I have one outside my house, and we have a great environment today. We have a rainy day today, so it would be great to show you this camera. But anyway, what else we have on this camera? Of course, we do have the active deterrence LED lights. So in the case if you do have the intrusion detection or line crossing, or the temperature heat has been detected, like it could be a fire, it could be any heat source that is above a certain threshold, you can set the active deterrence to start flashing. As well, you can use the speaker underneath. And so you can see, like you are familiar with the TO cameras. TO cameras would have a speaker as well. So we do have the speaker under the bottom of the camera that you can announce the message yourself via the app on the phone, or smart PSS software or DSS software if you have. As well as the monitor station, they can use their software like a Central, for example. They can announce the message via this camera. So if the camera will pick up an intrusion or line crossing, it will notify the monitoring station, and the monitoring station, they can use their microphone to announce the message. As well as there's a few built-in messages, and you can add your own messages if you like to that camera. So in the case if you have that in your house, on the front of the house, if someone's gonna sneak into your back garden in the middle of nowhere, pitch black environment, you have no light whatsoever, that camera will cover all the intrusion detection zone for you. So it will work for all the active deterrents, and it will announce the message automatically together with the LED light. So what else we have there? Of course, we do have the SD card. You can have this on board of this camera, that will allow you to make this camera fully standalone. On the fly lead, we have a 12 volts DC RJ45 plug. Input and output for an audio, so you can get like a horn speaker amplifier connected to this audio output, or you can have the external microphone connected, as well as you do have very important input and output for alarm. So you can use the alarm output usually. Like I said, if the heat is detected, you can trigger like a sprinkling system or like some alarm panel on site that allow you to receive the message, or it could be anything really, just a simple contact, normally open, go, close. So you can trigger anything with the heat that has been detected, or with one of the intrusions or line crossing features. So like you see here, this camera is actually a 4 megapixel with a bit lower resolution thermal imaging, but there's no fear. There's like a 2 millimeter on that camera. You can go up to like a 10 millimeter distance. I mean the 10 millimeter lenses on that thermal camera, and that will cover the distance up to like 150 meters detection, and that would be no problem to pick it up any object really far away from the camera. It will be zoomed in onto that object. It's a fixed lenses obviously, but the distance of the detection will be much farther than like a typical, like an ordinary visual camera. So you can at least double up the distance of the detection, especially during the dark time, during the night time, and pitch black environment, whatever weather conditions you might have there, it will always gonna pick it up. So you can determine differences between human and the vehicles. It's also pet mute, so it will avoid any false alarms triggered by, you know, cats, dogs, foxes, rabbits in the fields. So like I said, maybe I'm just going to show you some features of the camera within the head of the camera. Like I said, I have one outside, so we're going to log it in and see what we can get of it. All right. So there it is, there's our camera. That's the live picture. So as you see here, on the left hand side, there is visual lenses, and on the right hand side, there's a thermal imaging lenses. So what type of application you might this camera could be installed? Like I said, it could be of like pitch black environment. It could be any substation, looking at the wires, or any machinery that is heating up, and you like to switch off suddenly the machine if the threshold level of the temperature would be reached. As well as you can use the intrusion detection line crossing. So it all depends what type of the environment, what kind of solution you like to choose from. So let me log it into the settings of that camera. So straight away we have our channel settings. So you see the conditions. So we have the visual lenses. This is the typical setting for the type of the visual lenses camera. But the more important here is the thermal imaging lenses. So you can see I already fused the image. If I go with the original image, it's really just like a kind of a blurry image. That's how the thermal imaging is looking like. But if I fuse that image with the visual lenses, I'll get the contours and picture fused with my original thermal image. That will give me a bit more details about the picture and what is going on. Of course, I can calibrate the lenses, so they would be they're all straight up on the lines here on the contours of the objects on the front of the camera. As well as I can change the colors. Like, so for example, I can just go with a different type of the colorization, and so you see the white hot, fusion, and so on. There's so many of them to choose from. Usually I like to have just a fused image, and for the color, for the cool colors and any high temperature colors, like you see here, the car just arrived here. You can see straight away the heat of the car. Far away from the lenses here from the camera, you can see there's a lorry that has been picked up straight away. So let me save those settings, and we're just gonna go to some smart thermal imaging settings. So in the smart thermal imaging settings, like you see here, this is the channel number 1. So we just need to choose the smart plan, or either for the IVS, for those intrusion detection line crossing features for the visual lens, or you can also have the call detection. So the visual lenses, with the help of the thermal imaging, will pick it up if you're on the phone, for example. So if there's an environment like a petrol station where you're not supposed to use a phone while you fill up the car with the petrol, the camera can detect this type of the behavior, and it will announce the message. Of course, with the thermal imaging cameras, we also have the IVS, but also we do have the smoking detection. So if someone's smoking the cigarette, so again, it could be a petrol station, any place where you're not supposed to smoke, that can pick it up, that heat, the smoke from the cigarette, and announce the message that this is not a smoking area. So we're just going to select the IVS for this camera. And IVS, like you see, I do have already a tripwire, so simple as any other camera or recorder you play with. There's just a plus button you need to select, and now we just choose either intrusion detection or tripwire. So we can go ahead and select the tripwire, maybe just somewhere here. We can also add additional role if you like. Down below we have plenty of different options. What's going to happen if someone's going to cross that line, and what direction is going to cross that line, as well as you see here if the warning light will be on, if they're going to start flicking, how, with what frequency the light will start flicking as well. To take a snapshot, you can schedule when this rule is going to be active as well. And also from the audio messages, you have like an alarm sound. If you ever play with the TR cameras, That's going to be a really annoying kind of sound, but that's definitely going to scare someone off or alert somebody. Call detection, so that's for the call detection. If someone is on a call, the camera is going to pick it up. If someone is on a call, it will pick that up and announce the message. The same with a fire or a smoke detection. So we have one rule here. We can also add another rule somewhere else. So for example, we can get maybe some intrusion detection. Just start drawing there somewhere here, just to pick it up any detection if someone's going to walk it into that zone. So for this type of environment, for the active deterrence and perimeter detection, it's brilliant because you can cover much more, and you can, distance wise, you can go with that camera in anywhere, like in the middle of nowhere, with no light, no illumination whatsoever, and that will still pick it up all the heat from the objects like a human or a vehicle. Like you see here, we also have the fire warning, so you can actually trigger alarm output if there's a fire been detected by the thermal imaging lenses. So it's enough just to select the lenses here and select the alarm output. So again, it could be an audio message, it could be a warning light. It could be anything really that is on the front of the camera that you need to be worried about. Like most recent application I do remember we got these cameras in was the sawmill. So you just have this camera pointing at the pile of whatever, it could be the wood in the warehouse, and that might heat up, or there might be a spark somewhere that might start a fire, and it's for a prevention really. If the heat is going to be detected in a certain temperature, the relay outputs of the camera are connected just to the fire panel. Like I said, we do have the call detection, so for that we just need to have the person on the front of the camera with the phone next to their phone to their head, and that will pick it up, that kind of behavior, and it can announce the message. The same with the smoking detection. You can of course detect if someone is smoking a cigarette. The hot trace, you can actually trace the hot and cold temperatures and set the different threshold for that as well, and set the different outcome and different output. But more popular in this case will be temperature settings, where you can actually apply some rules. And for instance, your camera, your thermal imaging camera, is looking at some machinery or some certain area or spot where you worry about the temperature, if that's going to start overheating. Of course we can just get the line, or you can get a spot where you just select that and set the temperature threshold. So in that case, if the temperature is going to go above a certain temperature, it will trigger the alarm. As well as you can set the temperature contrast, so you can have multiple points and see the difference between multiple points. If there's any differences, if that difference is higher than usual, it will trigger the alarm. So for example, we can go with the polygons, so we can just set some zone of interest, or maybe just around the house here. So there it is, and we can actually set up the temperature. So if the temperature is going to go above, for example, 25 degrees, it will trigger the alarm. Very simple. We just need to save it. So you see here, now we have two rules. We have a rule for a measurement of the temperature in a certain area, but also we have the intrusion detection and line crossing. This feature is only available in the T series, T for Tango, 1 series cameras. If you don't have the T series, you won't have the polygons. You won't be able to set up this temperature rules. In that case, then you're only going to have those smart thermal imaging features like you see on the list on the left hand side. All right, so I like to show maybe some, like you see, I have those rules, 3 rules actually applied. I have the temperature zone. I also have the line crossing and intrusion detection all at the same time, and that would be connected to the NVR usually, where you can set it up everything from the NVR GUI as well. So in this case, if you like to get to the advanced settings, I definitely recommend to log it in to the head of the camera to set up like a fusion picture, different colors, different threshold, alarm outputs, just to make sure they're all working fine. You can all test them from the camera itself as well. So maybe I'd like to show you some video like from the detection I had today. So there is, for example, there is someone's walking in through the intrusion detection zone. As soon as they walk in, you can see they just gonna be detected and the alarm is gonna be announced. As well, if there will be any other detections, we can just jump into it and see if there's any other detections back in the past. There is, again, someone's just walking in through that zone straight away. It doesn't matter, like I said, if that is a pitch black environment, or if that is like snowing or raining or whatever conditions, weather condition you might have there, it's always going to be there. It's always going to pick it up. That object, whatever object you like to pick it up yourself. Thank you very much, and I will see you next Wednesday. So every Wednesday we're going to do some quick webinars so you can get a bit more familiar with the equipment that we have to offer. And so thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.